You wake up and realize something uncomfortable. You've been working for years, maybe decades, and you're essentially doing the same thing financially you were doing when you first started. Earn, spend most of it, save a little. Hope the numbers eventually add up. For most people, they never do. Not because they aren't intelligent, not because they aren't working hard enough, because nobody ever showed them the map. Building wealth isn't a random process, it's a sequence. There are 6 distinct stages every financially free person moves through. And if you don't know which stage you're in right now, you will stay stuck in the wrong one indefinitely. Not by accident, by design. Today, we're going to change that. Most financial advice fails because it lacks context. Spend less than you earn. Invest early. Diversify your portfolio. Technically correct and almost useless because advice that ignores context produces no movement. Where you are determines what you should do next, and most people don't know where they are. That's the trap. Let's go through all 6 stages. Stage 1 is financial survival. Your monthly expenses meet or exceed your income. Every month is a close call. You're paycheck to paycheck. And one unexpected bill is enough to destabilize everything. Here is what most people miss about Stage 1. This is not an income problem. It is a behavior problem. High earners live in Stage 1. 6-figure salaries, 0 margin. The number going into the account isn't the issue. The number going out is. Because income alone does not determine your wealth stage. Behavior does. The trap of Stage 1 is that it feels urgent, constantly. And when everything feels urgent, you make reactive decisions. More credit, more borrowing, avoiding the bank account because the number produces anxiety, or the opposite. An impulsive investment that promises to solve everything in one move. Stop for a moment. These aren't moral failures. They are psychological responses to chronic financial stress. Recognizing that distinction matters, because if you think this is a character problem, you will never solve it. It isn't. It's a systems problem. The only move in Stage 1 is this. Create a gap between what you earn and what you spend, even a small one. The size of the gap is less important than the existence of one. You are not trying to save your way to wealth from Stage 1. You are trying to create the conditions that make Stage 2 possible. That gap is oxygen. Without it, nothing else becomes possible. One specific action for Stage 1. Eliminate one expense this week. Not everything. One. Stage 2 is where the gap exists. You're no longer spending every dollar you earn. A small emergency fund may be building. Cash flow is positive. And for the first time in a while, financial decisions don't feel like emergencies. This should feel like progress, because it is. But Stage 2 comes with its own specific danger, comfort. When the financial pressure eases, lifestyle inflation enters quietly. You upgrade the apartment. You justify a better car. You treat yourself. You've earned it, right? And slowly, without noticing, you drift back toward Stage 1. This is the single greatest destroyer of Stage 2 progress. The work of Stage 2 is infrastructure, not excitement. 3 things. 1, an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of actual living expenses. Not invested, liquid and available. This is what separates people who recover from financial disruption and people who are destroyed by it. 2, eliminate high-interest consumer debt. Credit card rates, personal loan rates. These are mathematically incompatible with wealth building. You cannot compound forward while something is compounding against you at 15 to 25% annually. Those 2 forces cancel each other out, and one of them wins. 3, systems. Automate your savings transfer. Track your spending monthly. Create a standing financial review. Discipline without systems is willpower, and willpower runs out. Systems don't. Stage 2 is also where you begin to understand the difference between assets and liabilities, but the temptation to act on that knowledge prematurely is real. The foundation must be fully in place first. Foundation work is not glamorous. It is not fast, but without it, every floor you try to build above it will eventually crack. One action for Stage 2. Automate one savings transfer this week. Stage 3 is where money begins to make sense in a different way. You've stabilized. The foundation is in place, and something shifts. You start to understand that money can work for you, not just the other way around. This is an intellectual awakening as much as a financial one. Assets, liabilities, compound interest. For the first time, these aren't abstract. They are tools, and you're learning to use them. But Stage 3 carries a specific trap: impatience. You begin investing. The growth is slow, slower than expected. And so the mind starts looking for faster ways, riskier positions, crypto, a deal someone mentioned. The problem is overconfidence without experience, and it is expensive. Think about that. The discipline required in Stage 3 is not complex. Trust the boring. Consistent, diversified, low-cost index fund investing is not exciting. But for the vast majority of late starters, it is the most reliable path forward. The compounding engine doesn't need your excitement. It needs your consistency. It responds only to time and contribution. One action for Stage 3. Confirm today that you have a consistent, diversified investment contribution running, and leave it alone. Stage 4 is where something changes, not just in the spreadsheet, in your chest. Your money has been growing long enough and consistently enough that you feel the real power of compounding. Investment returns are no longer theoretical. They're noticeable. Perhaps they equal a month of salary. Perhaps more. You stop hoping it will work. You start believing it will work. That psychological shift is not small. It changes how you make every financial decision from this point forward. The future stops feeling like a source of anxiety. It becomes a genuine source of possibility. In Stage 4, income diversification becomes both possible and critical. You are transitioning from someone who earns money to someone who also generates money. Side businesses, rental income, dividends, digital products. The architecture expands. But watch the trap. Complexity. The temptation in Stage 4 is to keep adding. More accounts, more strategies, more advisors, more complexity layered on top of more complexity. Stop for a moment. Complexity is the enemy of execution. The people who sustain Stage 4 momentum are the ones who simplify and execute, not the ones who endlessly optimize and never move. Clarity over complexity, every single time. One action for Stage 4. Take one concrete first step on a second income stream this week. Not research, action. Stage 5 is the goal most people think they want. Your passive income covers your living expenses. You could stop working tomorrow and your lifestyle would not change. Think about that. Financial independence doesn't mean stopping. Most people in Stage 5 don't stop. They shift. They move from working out of necessity to working from purpose. And they do their best work from this place, because the work is no longer compelled. What Stage 5 actually gives you is options, the ability to say yes or no without financial consequence. That is the greatest gift that money can provide, not consumption, options. But Stage 5 carries an internal challenge nobody discusses: identity. If your entire self-concept has been built around the grind, the urgency, the chase, the hustle, what happens when the chase is over? Many people arrive at Stage 5 and feel lost. The preparation for this stage is not only financial, it is personal. Know what you're moving toward, not just what you're escaping from. One action for Stage 5. Have the legacy and estate planning conversation you have been avoiding. Stage 6 is where wealth becomes about something other than yourself, not just leaving assets to heirs. Impact, funding causes, building institutions, creating educational access for people who didn't have what you had, building a family culture of financial stewardship that outlasts your generation. This is where wealth finally begins to feel meaningful, not through consumption, but through contribution, where the numbers stop being the point. But this stage requires confronting something most people spend years avoiding: mortality. Estate plans, wealth transfer, charitable frameworks, the conversations about what happens after. The avoidance of this conversation is costly, both financially and psychologically. Irreversible wealth isn't built for yourself alone. It is built with intention, for what comes after you. One action for Stage 6. Define in writing, this week, the impact you want your wealth to create, not what you want to own, what you want to leave behind. Before the diagnostic, one concept that belongs at every stage. The performance trap. Social comparison is one of the most reliable destroyers of wealth-building behavior. The expensive car leased to signal success. The luxury apartment consuming 40% of take-home pay. Lifestyle choices designed to suggest a stage that hasn't been reached yet. That is Stage 1 behavior wearing a Stage 5 costume, and it is everywhere. The question is never, how fast am I moving? The question is, am I moving at all? Progress, not pace. That is the mandate. Underneath the performance trap is something deeper, identity. The stages are not a staircase you climb once. A medical event, a divorce, a market crash, life moves people backward. This is not failure. This is life. What matters is this. Knowledge of the path is an asset. Someone who has been to Stage 4 and returns to Stage 2 rebuilds dramatically faster than someone starting from zero, because they know the map. Your self-concept is more determinative of your financial trajectory than any specific strategy. If you believe you are bad with money, you will make money-bad decisions, not out of stupidity, but out of identity consistency. You cannot think your way into a higher wealth stage while holding an identity that belongs to a lower one. The internal work is not optional. It is the work. 6 diagnostic questions, 1 for each stage. Answer honestly. Not where you want to be, where you actually are. Do your monthly expenses meet or exceed your income, even without unexpected events? Do you have positive cash flow and at least 1 month of expenses saved, but still carry high-interest debt? Are you consistently investing 10 to 15%, full emergency fund in place, but your investment returns aren't yet meaningful? Are your investments generating noticeable returns, and are you actively building or exploring a second income stream? Could you maintain your current lifestyle indefinitely on passive income alone? Right now, today? Is your primary financial focus no longer personal accumulation, but impact, legacy, and intergenerational wealth transfer? Wherever you land, that is your coordinate, not a judgment, a starting point. Now you know where you are on the map. 3 things before you go. First, being stuck is not a character flaw. It is a navigation problem. You now have the map. Second, identify your stage clearly and honestly, not the stage you want to be in, the stage you are actually in right now. That honest self-assessment is the beginning of everything that follows. Third, take 1 action this week, specific to your stage. Small is acceptable. Consistent is everything. The journey through all 6 stages is not made in giant leaps. It is made in consistent steps, taken 1 at a time, in the right direction. If this landed, if you sat with one of these stages and felt a genuine recognition, drop a comment. Tell me which stage you're in right now. Tell me the 1 action you're taking this week. That kind of accountability, even to strangers on the internet, is more powerful than most people realize. If you want a dedicated deep dive on any specific stage, tell me. I will build that content. Subscribe if you haven't. Share this with someone who needs the map, not because it makes you look smart, because it might change the direction of their financial life. Built with intention.